evening, you're watching The Buck Stops Here and I'm Barkhadat. On the program this evening, as Narendra Modi plans his new cabinet, the Congress is weighing its past. The BJP is planning its future, the Congress is weighing its past. And the question that must be asked this evening, is the Congress simply resigned to its fate? This after Sonia and Rahul offer resignations at the CWC, but of course, playing to a script and a bad one at that. Those resignations are not accepted. Our main debate on the program tonight, first the debacle, then the dynasty, and then the drama. Is the Congress neither shaken nor stirred by its huge electoral defeat? That'll be the big debate on the program tonight. Coming up later on the program, across the country, chief ministers are confronting huge electoral losses. Among them, Omar Abdullah of Jammu and Kashmir. He's joining us on whether the Congress National Conference alliance will now remain intact at all.
I would be amazed if there aren't very strong voices in the Congress as well that would not like to see this alliance continue into the assembly elections. I know there are voices within my party as well.
Omar Abdullah will be speaking to us at about 9:30 tonight, but let's get started now with a big political story today. It is the story of the elections that while the BJP is planning its future, the Congress has had to weigh its past. But if you thought that that meeting of the Congress Working Committee was going to throw up any surprises or any changes, well, think again. At the end of the day, there was nothing, absolutely nothing, except authorizing the Congress President Sonia Gandhi to take any appropriate decision to prepare a roadmap for the recovery of the party. Yes, as reported, Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi did offer resignations, but true to script and true to expectation, these resignations were rejected unanimously. This, of course, raises a wider question. Where does this leave the grand old party, as some call it, except in a grand old mess? How long can the Congress mantra remain all in the family? Let's introduce our panel today. From the Congress, joining us, Jayanti Natarajan. With me in the studio, senior commentator and journalist Swapan Das Gupta. Also joining me, Sudhindra Kulkarni, well-known commentator, somebody who in the past has been associated with the BJP. Also joining me is Professor Neera Chandok, well-known political analyst and scientist. And we'll also be joined by Subramaniam Swamy of the BJP. Jayanti Natarajan, you have a very difficult job this evening to put a kind of spin on what to most people seems not just like an anticlimax, but yet another instance of arrogance of the Gandhi family. There's no other way to put it, because since the electoral results, we have not heard from Sonia and Rahul except that one brief press appearance where neither of them took questions. Even today, they did not confront the cameras themselves. What's the point of Rahul Gandhi talking about accountability, as Janardhan Dwivedi said he did, when that talk is only behind closed doors?
Barka, I just want to make one thing very clear. I believe that accountability cannot be defined in a narrow sense. And also, before I elaborate on that, I want to take you on what you said. It's not... it is true that we are introspecting, that the working committee is introspecting. We have performed.
I don't usually interrupt, ma'am. I don't usually interrupt, but that word introspection I've heard about 155 times today, and it's begun to sound like one of those cliches that politicians throw out when they lose. And as I said, you've got a tough job on your hand defending this tonight. But can the banality of that word really explain the defeat?
Banality and cliche, they all exist because of the fact that it is so true. Because introspection is the only word possible. If you're expecting theatrics and drama, that's not going to happen. I was about to take you on to say, I would not certainly expect the president and the vice president of my party to come out and to enact, to perform, if you like, before the cameras. It's not a question of arrogance at all. We are in a state of shock. We have performed very badly. Nobody is getting away from that fact. We need to understand why. Something has gone badly wrong. Okay. And if we are trying to find out where we went wrong and introspecting, I see no terrible thing in that.
Okay.
And I think it was wrong of the media to keep playing up that, oh, there will be a resignation. They may from yesterday.
But we were right.
As if resignation
But we were
was
right.
the answer.
They did
In
offer
fact,
the resignations.
No.
Ma'am,
No,
we were right.
But Barca, yes, they did. But the fact remains, because the working committee refused to accept it, doesn't make it a drama. It would actually, in my view, leave the party in a worse mess. Because
Okay.
you can't have leader and the vice president walk away
Okay,
from the
ma'am.
result
Okay,
without
okay.
an alternative.
Okay, Jayanti, before I come to the rest of the panel, a very senior colleague of yours, Kamal Nath. Kamal Nath is somebody who's been one of the few Congress people to actually win his seat. And I just want to play a brief excerpt from an interview he gave to me. And this is something I thought would have happened today at the very least, an announcement of internal elections. This is what Kamal Nath, who by the way is not a member of the CWC, another irony of the CWC, it's people with members, unelected members. The CWC is unelected and it's dominated by Rajya Sabha members. But Kamal Nath saying, end the culture of patronage within the Congress. So if you had to recommend one surgical solution, because sometimes you need surgery to heal things, what would it be for the Congress party?
I think we should have a working committee which is elected, and Rahul Gandhi has been saying this for the last 2 years, that we should have a working committee which is elected. And all those who, to protect themselves, oppose this are causing immense damage. I completely agree with Mr. Rahul Gandhi. We should have an elected working committee. Then this culture of people, who are being bestowed with patronage is going to end.
So Kamal Nath calling for internal elections, even that doesn't happen. Subramanian Swamy of the BJP is also on the panel now, but swapping to you first, as an observer of politics. Of course, the two parties, I mean, what's happening today tell their own story. The BJP is busy working on its new cabinet. The Congress is saddled with this. But at the end of it, are you surprised that it turned out to be such a gigantic anticlimax, the CWC?
No, I'm not very surprised, partly because, any political party, after a devastating defeat like that, goes through convulsions. It's not unique to the Congress, and I think other political parties too have gone through it. So I'm not very surprised that there is a sense of dejection coupled with a sense of denial. It's both which exist.
So you think they're still in denial?
No, because I think there's a sort of a delayed fuse in this case. And that, yes, the Congress has to take into account three factors. One is the performance of the government, which they ran. Number two, which is connected to this, is the larger question of leadership. And thirdly, which is specific to the elections, was the question of messaging. Now, I think on the question of the government, it's well recognized that what was there for the past at least 2.5, 3 years was inadequate and did contribute to the loss of support.
Yeah.
Now, that's something which the Congress can address, and I believe Manmohan Singh
did say that at the
did
meeting.
admit the shortcomings of the government, although he didn't touch upon the question of corruption as much as he should have.
He's just believed to have said that our responses were inappropriate to price rise and corruption. Yeah.
I think the entire question of messaging too was addressed, and there was criticism about the manner in which the election campaign was run. But I think all of it comes silent when the question of leadership comes in. Now, I think this is really the problem with the Congress, because the leadership issue is defined within a certain parameter of the dynasty. And they cannot. I mean, the congressmen sincerely believe, rightly or wrongly, that the Gandhi family is the glue which holds the party together.
And do you think that's incorrect?
Well, that's their self-belief. Whether it's correct or incorrect is not for me to say. It's their self-belief. And if you accept that self-belief, what happened today seems entirely predictable.
But Sudhindra Kulkarni, does it not damage the Congress further from a point of view of not how the BJP were to see it or their political rivals were to see it, but just how people were to see it? Because people see a Rahul Gandhi who is not ready to step up to the plate and even be a prime ministerial candidate. People then see a Rahul Gandhi of whom we know through spokespeople that he wants to offer his resignation and talk about accountability, then that resignation doesn't even get accepted. So it just feels like a drama.
No, I don't think it's drama today. For the first time perhaps, they have not taken cover behind the so-called collective responsibility. The President and the Vice President have accepted that it is their individual personal responsibility. They offer to resign. In the collective wisdom of the Congress Working Committee, the resignations were not accepted, but I am sure that there is deep soul searching going on within the Congress party, we can't
What
expect.
makes you think so? What makes you think so? Because isn't there a strand of sycophancy or predictable sycophancy, I would say, in everybody saying no, no, please don't?
So every political party has its own characteristic, structure, evolution. No party is like the other. The BJP, for example, is controlled by so-called social cultural organization, which has a very strong and almost direct political control over the BJP.
I mean, we've spoken about this, that it's the Parivar in the Sangh and the Parivar at Janpat.
The Sonia Parivar, the Sangh Parivar.
But are they comparable?
No, they are not comparable. In fact, the big source of strength for the BJP is that this Sangh Parivar has tens of thousands of very dedicated workers who are in organic contact with society. The Congress Parivar, on the other hand, has workers who don't work between elections, and that's one of the major reasons for the weakness of the party.
Okay.
So if the party has to revive itself, it has to revive itself from Trinamool, grassroots, and the patronage culture right from the bottom to the top. That has to end.
But you believe today was a genuine attempt at taking responsibility at the top?
No, we can't expect, that in one day, you would see some big action and that would be enough to be described as introspection. This is work in progress. We have to wait and see. But also, we must recognize, when I say that each party has its own characteristic, for the Congress, the family, whether we like it or not, is a source of strength, a symbol of unity.
But I want
it's the same family that got the party a huge victory 5 years ago.
No, but we don't know, because you see, in 2009, a number of the middle class voters also voted for Manmohan Singh. In 2009, the urban voter actually liked Manmohan Singh.
2004.
Okay, so fair enough point. Let me get Dr. Subramaniam Swamy in. On this parallel, the Sudhindra Kulkarni and a number of other people have drawn between the Sangh Parivar and the Sonia Parivar. Subramaniam Swamy, is it disingenuous for the BJP and the RSS to keep saying we're not discussing cabinet formation when every single BJP leader of consequence has spent the last 2 days at some point at the RSS headquarters, when an Uma Bharti will go on record to say that the teachings of the RSS are in our blood?
Yeah, but that's not comparable to what's happening in the Congress. Congress is one family, and every time there has been a departure from that, the party has gone through a horrible crisis. Take, for example, what happened with Narasimha Rao and then Sitaram Kesari. And now the family didn't have a prime minister and they reduced him to a rubber stamp. So I think it is too unrealistic to expect that Congress will change its leadership because they failed in the election, because this party has to be ruled by the family. Now, as far as the RSS is concerned,
yes,
that's not a family.
What is it?
That's a huge organization, and they have a pool to draw from.
But what is its influence on the party, I think, is the question that Sudhindra was raising.
Badka.
Yeah. Okay, Jayanti, go ahead, and then I'll come to Neera Chandok. Go ahead, Jayanti.
No, I wanted to answer what Mr. Swamy was saying, and also what you said. You were talking, you were mentioning the sycophancy in wanting the family, the dynasty, whatever, to continue. I want to point out that in a mass-based party, it's still the oldest party in the country. No person, no person who's devoted, and I'm a political activist too. No matter how far you want to take sycophancy, nobody wants to serve a leader who's going to fail them. Okay. Remember that this is the family, if you like. We certainly, 2009, Dr. Manmohan Singh had performed extraordinarily well, and it was his image as well, and the shared leadership. However, 21 assembly elections in 10 years, nobody will want a family, if you want to continue to call them a family, because they are elected to parliament, if not in the party.
Okay.
Nobody will continue unless these two leaders are
able
good
to
for
deliver.
the party, and that is the reason why the party sticks to them. So why anybody would call it sycophancy, I don't understand. I mean,
May I
it's
put
just
that-
a
may I-
self-serving argument.
Okay.
The second issue too, please permit me to finish
Okay.
very quickly.
Okay.
What Mr. Swami said is the difference between the RSS and the Congress, as I see it, is that Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi are the president and the vice president of the party, and they are openly so taking responsibility, which was rejected. But the RSS, everybody continues to maintain that they are not there. It's as if, you know, they don't exist at all. And now this is power without responsibility.
Okay. So this phrase is used by both parties for each other. But Neeraj Chandok, are you convinced by the argument that Jayanti Natarajan is making, and that even those who have been trenchant critics of the Congress's self-belief is that you need the Gandhis to stay united, if not to win elections?
You know, it strikes me, and I'm saying this very regretfully, because one of the greatest, oldest parties of the country, major mobilizational and organizational strength for all these years, the Congress party and the members of the Congress party seem to be beset by one overwhelming sentiment, and that is fear. That if the Gandhi family goes, they're going to dissolve into feuding fiefdoms. They will not be held together because they don't have an organization. The second point is, I don't think they've understood the depth of the anger that people have shown in the ballot. Now, here is an opportunity for parties like the Congress, which has a potential organization, because 69% of the electorate has not voted for the BJP. Why don't you go and work among that people, that group, you know, to mobilize them?
But that's, you know, we've always had the first past the post system, and we've never done electoral analysis in terms of...
Statistically, they have 69% of the electorate which is willing to be persuaded otherwise. The Congress seems to be beset by a death wish. And that is a matter of great concern, because we need a healthy party system.
And where is the opposition going to come from? Swapan, Sudhindra, give me a second. Just one second. Swapan, this point that Sudhindra makes, that every party has its own structure from which it kind of derives either a sense of confidence or a sense of security, that in the case of the BJP, that might well be the Sangh. That, you know, that the mandate may have been for Modi, but you needed the structure of the Sangh also to contribute to that victory. How then does somebody like Mr. Modi escape the criticism that the RSS is what Jayanti calls power without responsibility?
Through his actions.
But when
Mr.
but
Modi,
the optics
in these
that are
elections,
playing out of these many leaders flooding into the RSS headquarters.
That's bound to happen. You know, that's bound to happen. Look, let's be very clear about this. This was a mandate quite clearly for Mr. Modi, and regardless of whether you say 69% only endorsed him, I would say that something like 80% of the people rejected the Congress. You know, I mean, but those statistics are meaningless. In a first past the post, the BJP got the majority on its own. The NDA got a resounding mandate.
Yeah.
The mandate, from all evidence, both from the exit polls and anecdotal, appears to have been quite significantly a mandate for the leadership of Mr. Modi.
But do you accept
now
this?
Mr. Modi
Yeah.
has to balance what might be called corporate responsibilities and the responsibilities of the mandate. Now, the mandate says deliver, because if you don't deliver with soaring and dizzying expectations, you're going to get a backlash.
Yes.
You know, and we can see how easily the electorate swings from one extreme to the other. So, his main priority at present is to have a team fit for purpose.
But do you accept this analogy between the Sonia Parivar and the Sangh Parivar that Sudhindra is making?
The only difference is that the pool of the Sonia Parivar are 3 people, or if you include Robert Vadra, 4 people, 4 persons, and whereas the Sangh, the pool is quite a large number of people, and you can change one. You can reject Mr. Gadkari today, you can reject Mr. Rajnath Singh today, you can reject Mr. Advani, you can bring in Narendra Modi, who has been propelled from below.
Yeah.
No.
Can you reject the RSS? Swapan, you can't reject the RSS, Swapan. That's the point.
Swapan, you want to respond to that?
No, I don't think the RSS is there. They're fighting the election as BJP. He fought the election as Mr. Narendra Modi's leadership. It was quite clear. It was not Ab Ki Baar RSS Sarkar. It was Ab Ki Baar Modi Sarkar.
They themselves said that we have intervened for the second time in Indian politics. The first time was during the emergency. This is the second time we have intervened. The RSS leadership has gone and recorded.
They have mobilized. They have mobilized quite significantly, and they did work. Their organization was put at the service
you
of the BJP.
cannot abstract the Prime Minister, the
would-be Prime
Minister from his ideological moorings. That is the RSS.
No, but hang on. Vajpayee did it. There is a precedent where Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Sudhindra and Nehra was able to not disown the RSS, but certainly be his own Prime Minister.
Let us see what happens.
Sudhir?
You know, when the NDA lost, the BJP lost in 2004, Vajpayee ji took personal responsibility for the defeat. But did the media go to the RSS and ask, do you take responsibility?
Exactly.
You know, was the question posed to the RSS in 2009 when the BJP was defeated again? The predictable answer would have been, had the question actually been posed, that we don't interfere in the working of the BJP. We are a social cultural organization. We have nothing to do with politics. We know the truth. Coming back to the Congress, you see the problem with the Congress, and it has to simply address this question squarely. There is a patronage culture from the bottom to the top, and this patronage culture begets sycophancy, that the Gandhis cannot be questioned at all. Now, in any organization, if some people are beyond
reproach,
scrutiny, and if internal democracy ends there, then you have a problem. Now, this is a problem that the Congress party has to address.
Yeah.
But let's also bring this point in here, that in the long history of the Congress, the period in which the Congress has been headed by the family has been just a few decades. It has a long history when it was, so therefore going forward it may have to actually confront the most important question, can we have a future when the Congress can be headed by a non-family person and yet be a vibrant national democratic organization? And it can be.
But Subramanian Swamy, come in on Jayanti, 1 minute. One minute. Subramanian Swamy, come in on the argument that Jayanti makes, that when people are down, everybody will kick them. But the fact of the matter is that the same Gandhis for whom you, of course, it's well known, have a pathological dislike, the same Gandhis have delivered electoral results before.
Yes, that's not the issue is that usually people vote against the government in power. And I think in 2004, perhaps the cadre of the BJP felt that nothing was done for the core ideological issues and may have not worked very hard. So therefore, there was a defeat. It was not a vote for Mrs. Sonia Gandhi. In fact, they didn't even get majority. They had to make a coalition.
But the core ideological, but what you call the core ideological issues have barely found mention in this campaign. People have voted essentially for economic aspirations, for dreams, for hope, for betterment. They have not voted for any ideological moorings of Mr. Modi in the context of the RSS.
No. See, the question is, no. The issue is that even if the people are for you, you need an organization to mobilize them to go and vote and create an awareness. And that organization is ideologically molded in the case of the BJP. And that's the explanation of 2004, and that's the explanation for this extraordinary victory this time.
Okay.
It's not only Modi, but it's also the organizational strength of the RSS.
Okay, I can see lots of disagreements, but
this mandate is for Modi.
It is a clear mandate for Modi.
Yeah.
There are large, no doubt, organization. There has to be a skeletal organization.
Yeah.
Without a skeletal organization, you cannot win. You cannot prevail. But if you look at the areas in which the BJP has won, you will notice that in those areas, the organization is nothing to write home about.
Take UP. I mean, the organization.
It's been a huge spontaneous display particularly of young people who are not linked at all to any political organization, who have come and voted in droves for Mr. Modi.
Yeah. I think this, as a political scientist,
Barka?
it strikes me that this election is going to be a game changer for future elections. The entire campaign of Mr. Modi, and I'm not denying that he had a huge presence in the country, you couldn't get away from him anywhere, has been masterminded by very professional PR organizations, event management companies.
But the Congress
and
had the
various-
access to
no,
the same PR managers.
Not to that level, that enthusiasm. What is going to happen, even if the Congress did? I'm talking about something different.
Okay.
The relevance of the ordinary party worker in connecting with the people, living among them, working with them, talking to them, is going to actually dissipate, because you're going to have a presidential campaign like the United States, which is run purely professionally. You don't need a party cadre there.
Do you agree, Satyendra?
No, I don't think the huge victory of the BJP can be attributed to event management or advertising campaign. They have played a role. That's not the issue. The issue is, one, there was strong anger against the performance of the UPA, especially UPA 2, and the manner in which he was able to create hope in a section of society. Of course, we must remember, it's still 31%. Today's newspapers have pointed out that it is the lowest
Yes, but
share.
Mr. Kulkarni, it is 31% because the BJP did not contest. Now take the NDA into account.
No.
Take the NDA account, it's nearer, it's smelling 40%.
My point is
so
this.
No,
My point is this.
therefore,
That doesn't
this is a
mean-
false statistic.
No, that
This is not a correct statistic. Take into account all those who fought under the banner of Modi for PM and see how many votes they got.
It is indeed a mandate for Modi, but let us not forget let's not forget the
exaggerate
figure
here.
that even the Congress, the Congress has got 19%. Last time, with 18%, the BJP got 16 seats in the Lok Sabha. These are peculiarities
that once
of
we have
election.
a first past the post system, this is how
You
elections
can't
are.
change the
always.
goalposts.
No,
suddenly.
the
No, but
fact
you
that
have to rethink this.
the fact
We have
that
to rethink this.
We
But
have-
Why
never
should we have to rethink only when the verdict goes against what you think is
We've been saying
desirable?
this for 10, 15 years. We have
We've
to
done it for
rethink.
50 years.
No, the
electoral
Congress has always got
reforms is
more than its
electoral
vote share.
reforms is a big issue on which all political
No,
parties
but
have
I'm
at some
just saying
point
that
or the other
is it a bit
come
churlish?
together.
Is it a bit churlish that just because you may be ideologically opposed, Neera, to a Mr. Modi, that suddenly the first past the post system that everybody has unquestioningly accepted all these decades is now being questioned?
No, we've not unquestioningly accepted anything. There are political scientists working on how the Congress has always got more seats than its vote share, and the Jansang and then the BJP has always got less.
At some point in time, one major party benefits, at
another
other
time
points,
another one.
other-
See, the first past
and
the post always exaggerates majority.
Always.
does. That's the nature of the system.
My point is that let us also not exaggerate the support that the BJP has got in this election. It may have got.
They've won the election.
That's
I think
fine. That's fine. But therefore, let's not think that this is a game changer forever. Because we have seen in the past a party that has had two seats has come
But you know
to
what?
occupy.
But may I ask a question just to take this forward and get last comments from all of you? If the problem in the campaign was that the Congress was not able to create a campaign that provided a counter-narrative to Mr. Modi or an effective counter-narrative to Mr. Modi, there was also a leadership comparison, right? There was. It was a presidential campaign. There's a leadership problem. I want to take this to Jayanti that when is the Congress, and I think Swapan raises a valid point here, when are you going to confront that there is a leadership problem and you can't isolate that leadership problem just around Manmohan Singh?
Or blame him.
Or blame only
Of
him?
course not. Nobody's.
They've just
no,
blamed him.
nobody.
Tamil Nadu has
Nobody.
blamed
In
him.
fact, the Congress Working Committee congratulated the Prime Minister on his performance. Nobody is isolating Dr. Manmohan Singh. I think the party and the government share the responsibility. The government clearly failed, and I totally disagree that the entire election was around, although it's very attractive for people antagonistic to the Congress to keep talking about the dynasty. I don't think this election was about dynasty. We did not understand the anger of the people against the non-performance of government and the party on several levels, particularly corruption and price rise, and particularly the fact that Mr. Modi was able to tap into and excite the imagination of so many people with regard to their aspirational hope. So there is a total sharing. Nobody is any doubt about what happened.
And yet you complimented the Gandhis.
From responsibility.
So Swapan has a point.
And yet, Jayanti, at the end of a day in which you've tasted the worst defeat in history, you compliment the Prime Minister, you compliment the Congress Vice President, and you compliment the Congress President. So who's responsible? So you're saying the voters are responsible?
No, they're not responsible. The party, the leadership is responsible. All of us are responsible. The fact remains, in my view and in view of the working committee, in view of every Congress worker, this is the best leadership. They've led us to victory in the past. And because of one
you would
defeat,
never consider any other leadership.
That keeps the party together.
Are you saying for all time to come? Are you saying for all time to come?
It's not like that.
Then you're not introspecting, Jayanti.
I think it's superficial. I'm sorry. I think we are not. Please forgive me if I seem. I don't wish to seem arrogant, but this is a party in which all of us, to which I at least have devoted 35 years. It's not something I want to crumble. It's enlightened self-interest. My interest and the interest of millions of workers lies there. And when I say that this is the best leadership we have, it's because we believe in it. And I think we have a greater stake than the other panelists who are sitting here.
Okay, we'll leave it there. And in that you are right. I think the Congress has to choose its own path. But people are looking to see even who will be the leader of opposition. And people are looking, Jayanti, with all due respect, to this unelected gathering of old worthies who are going to sit in judgment, whereas most of your successful Congress politicians are not even members of the CWC. That's for a discussion for another time. Swapan Das Gupta, Satyendra Kulkarni, Neera Chandok, Subramaniam Swamy, Jayanti Natarajan. Thanks for joining us on the buck stops here. Moving on now, much debate after Nitish Kumar resigns as to whether non-performing chief ministers whose states have done badly in the Lok Sabha should also consider taking the same route. Let's now bring you somebody who has gone online and spoken about his defeat very candidly. Omar Abdullah is somebody who's actually now reaching out via email. He's writing to his voters saying, tell me where I went wrong. This after the national conference was actually routed. Farooq Abdullah lost his seat for the very first time, and the BJP picked up three seats in Jammu and Kashmir, with the Congress also drawing a blank. Let's go straight now to Omar Abdullah, who's joining us from Srinagar. Omar, thanks very much. A very unusual decision to actually and perhaps a sign for changing politics, to use social media, to use email to reach out to voters. But some would say to do this is actually to in vain try and substitute it for mass contact. Why did you decide on this electronic outreach post your debacle?
Well, I think because, Barkha, you can't meet people 24/7. There are only a limited number of hours during the day when you can meet people, but the forum of email is available to you 24 hours a day. So this email outreach, so to speak, is actually to supplement the in-person meetings that I've already started with the senior party colleagues and also with party functionaries. And from here on, it'll be travels into the districts and visiting assembly constituencies and trying to interact directly with the voters and people and get a sense of what went wrong. I mean, I've already had such an amazing response on email. I never expected the sort of numbers in terms of people that have written with really reasonable and well-argued points as to what went wrong and what can be corrected. And I think that's exactly what this exercise was about. But those people who think that this is all I'm doing and that this is not about actual people-to-people contact couldn't be more wrong. As I said, this is just to complement and supplement that.
Okay, but may I ask you, in your first response, as you assess your electoral defeat or your party's electoral defeat, what do you think went against you? Was it anti-incumbency against your government in the state? Was it regional anti-incumbency? Or did you also bear the brunt of the massive anti-incumbency against the Congress, with whom, of course, you were in partnership with?
Well, I think there were different factors in different parts of the state. In Jammu, the two parliament seats there, there can be no denying that this pro-Modi sort of air that had been created, that swept large parts of Jammu and Udhampur parliament constituencies. Of course, we had to deal with our own anti-incumbency as well. Kashmir Valley, Modi wasn't a factor here. We paid the price for a whole lot of other things. I think on the top of that list would have to be the execution of Afzal Guru and its handling after that. There can be no denying that the summer of unrest in 2010 and its aftermath is something that still resonates amongst the people. Some of the policies that the government put into place with regard to employment, we had what was called a new recruitment policy, through which we seem to have managed to alienate a large part of the educated youth of Jammu and Kashmir. So these are, a handful of reasons that immediately have come forward as through this email and in contact with my workers, and these are essentially what we paid a price for. We paid a price for the perception of Shupaiya being a rape and murder, as opposed to what the CBI found. But that's just the way it is.
But do you believe, in hindsight, that staying with the Congress was a mistake? It was not as if the alliance didn't have its share of problems, its share of ups and downs. Do you believe that staying with the Congress was a mistake?
Well, Barkha, we consciously decided that we wanted this alliance to continue. And there was no way we could have continued in government in the state if we had fought against each other in parliament. We didn't want to have a premature assembly election in the state. We didn't want an assembly election at a time when there was a whole lot of other factors that were in play. And therefore, recognizing that we couldn't exactly oppose each other in a parliament election and then sit down together and govern until November, we decided that the best thing was to fight these parliament elections together, and that's what we did.
But is this a partnership that is going to continue? Because you have to take a decision for the assembly elections.
I don't know. I honestly can't say. I would be amazed if there aren't very strong voices in the Congress as well that would not like to see this alliance continue into the assembly elections. I know there are voices within my party as well that are calling for the same thing. But I think that's a decision. We are in government together at the moment, and we'll just wait and see how it plays out.
So there's a good chance that the partnership would probably end?
I'm not going to get into forecasting that. Clearly, we are in partnership for the duration of this government, and beyond that, we'll wait and see what happens.
Okay. Talk a little bit about what's happening nationally. Given the UPA debacle, we've seen the CWC meeting today end with offers of resignation from Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi and them not getting accepted. Now, at least, Omar, you're out there on Twitter acknowledging your mistakes, communicating directly with people, writing emails to people. But we haven't even heard from Rahul Gandhi except for that one statement where he refused to take questions.
Look, it's not for me to tell people how they should run their political parties. And I'm sure the Congress in its own way will introspect. These results have been catastrophic for them. They've never had such a low number of members elected to Parliament. And I'm sure they realize that this is an opportunity to learn and to take corrective action. What steps or what methods they will adopt to ascertain the lessons that need to be learned, that is something they have to decide to do. This is my way of doing it. I'm trying to reach out to as many people as possible, try and get as much objective feedback as possible, and then use it to make changes. I'm going to start implementing what I've heard from people, starting from my day after tomorrow's cabinet meeting itself, and I'm going to start rolling out steps so that people realize that it's not just about ascertaining feedback from them, but actually implementing it.
Give us an example of an email that you've received and a change you would act on.
Well, I think the biggest surprise for me, and I must confess this, is that there have been very few abusive emails. You know, when I put my email address out on Twitter, I was actually pretty much expecting a deluge of really abusive, nasty sort of personal attacks on email. And I must confess that having read more than 1,000 emails so far, I think the number of really abusive, difficult ones was probably only 3 or 4. So, I mean, what has amazed me is that people have actually taken the time to sit and compose reasonable, well thought out arguments of what went wrong. And these are people from within the state, from Kashmir, from Jammu, from Ladakh, from the rest of the country, and even people from outside the country as well. And as I said, I mean, they've talked about the problems with regard to governance. They've talked about the problems of the youth with regard to this new employment policy. They've talked about how we need to rein in the police. And I think that's a point that is very well taken. The sort of restrictions that we place when dealing with law and order situations, that's something that has sort of resonated amongst people. Making the security forces more accountable for the use of force is clearly a point that is very well taken. There are a number of really good suggestions that have come that, as I've said, I'm actually going to start. I've already had a meeting with my senior police people today to share some of this feedback with them, and we're going to start implementing that. But some of the decisions, like with regard to employment policies and welfare measures for employees, we're going to start dealing with from day after tomorrow itself.
Okay, in the end, you said you did not want to advise any other political party on what to do, yet through this particular campaign, you did express an opinion twice on decisions taken by your alliance partner, the Congress. Once when the government wanted to announce an inquiry into what's come to be known as Snoopgate, you said it was inappropriate to do so in the last lap of the government. And another time when Rahul Gandhi skipped the PM's dinner, and you said, well, if he'd already met the Prime Minister, why didn't they put out that statement first? Do you think these are two examples of how the Congress botched up its campaign?
Well, I've always called it as I see it. I mean, that's for better or for worse, that's the way it is. And I sincerely disagreed with the move to appoint a judge in the dying days of a government. I mean, it would have been different if we were uncertain about the continuation of this government. But we knew that we were going to have a new Prime Minister regardless of who was elected, whether it was a UPA 3 or an NDA or a third front, we were going to have a new Prime Minister. And therefore, for an outgoing government to appoint a judge to look into who was then your #1 political rival and allegations against that person was, to my mind, wrong, and I'm glad I spoke up, and I'm glad the government didn't go ahead with this decision. If the cabinet order was for December, it should have been implemented in December. And if it wasn't, we definitely had no business implementing it 2 days or 3 days before the Prime Minister steps down. 1. 2, on the whole question of Rahul not attending the Prime Minister's dinner, my only limited point was that, I mean, why come out with a statement after the news has broken and it's been sort of misrepresented? I mean, if Rahul went and met the Prime Minister and apologized for his absence at the dinner and thanked him for his contribution, then Rahul had done what he had to do. And therefore, perhaps on that day itself, a statement from his office saying that, look, he's not going to be in the country, and therefore has met the Prime Minister about his absence. And this would have been a non-story rather than the huge issue that it was made out to be. And Rahul was made to look bad in this, which I thought was unnecessary.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
That's why I said what I did.
All right, last question. You've campaigned with Rahul. You're somebody who's seen to have known him. What would be your advice to him? You're reaching out to people after your defeat. He's not reaching out to anybody.
Look, it's never been my place to advise, and that too sort of in an open forum like this. I'm going to come to Delhi at some point over the next few days. I'm going to sit down. I'm sure we'll have a nice long chat, and we'll share our experiences about what this campaign has meant for each of us, how we've reacted to the defeat. I mean, this is not the first time I've lost. I lost in 2002 and I bounced back from there. This is the first time he's facing this sort of a situation. I have no doubt that he'll brave it out and bounce back from here. It does look rather dark when you've immediately sort of faced this sort of a setback. But there are ways out from it, and I'll look forward to sitting and talking about those with him.
Well, Omar Abdullah, thanks for talking to us. At least you're being communicative. That's something certainly I think that Mr. Gandhi could take a lesson out of your book or a leaf out of your book from. Thanks so much for joining us. And that brings us to the end of the Buck Stops here tonight. See you tomorrow night at 9 p.m. From the entire team, good night.